Hello, hello. We are going to go live here in just a few minutes, setting up a couple more things. And we are going to talk about local writers. So we have some new writers. We have some new books, and I'm really excited. There we go. Hello, hello. We are going to be talking about local authors today. And let's see, what else? There we go. We are going to go to live here and live on YouTube. So, hi. Hi, Kelly. We are going to talk about local writers. Say hi, Zazzy. We got some new books in our store, you guys. It's super cool. Hi. I don't have any music, so, you just got me humming. That's about all we're doing. Hi, Lloyd. All right, so we've got everybody going, and we're on YouTube as well as TikTok. So hopefully we'll have enough of an audience that it will be pretty good. We're hoping. Anyway, let me see if we can't get my camera up so I can see what everybody's saying. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have new authors today. Super awesome. We're really excited about it. Lloyd is one of our authors, and he is on our chat today. Hi, Lloyd. What's shaking, man? All right, there we go. So now I can see everybody. Alrighty. So how's everybody doing today? Tell me in the comments what you're reading. I want to know. Okay. So we had a really awesome book club for June. We talked to Lloyd. Lloyd is my dude. I'm going to grab the book. Hang on. Okay. So this is what we read for June, for our June book club. Yes, Lloyd is our Coach Beard. We love Lloyd. So this was our book for June, and we had Lloyd here. This is The Spaces Between Spaces. To me, this book was kind of like the Twilight Zone on steroids. Very Ray Bradbury. And I really, really enjoyed it. Like, I could totally see this being made into movies. Lloyd is a tremendous writer, and so if you need a really good book, this is the book for you. I'm telling you. Super, super, super awesome. So let's see what else. So anyway, this is 8 stories. We read it. We talked to Lloyd. I feel like it was a really good conversation. I think that's the most people that we had for book club, which was super cool. I was like super happy. So we're gonna, cause I'm not, yeah. Do. Dismiss. Okay. So anyway, this is what we read. I was really excited about it. I enjoyed it very, very much. Lloyd, Lloyd is a writer after my own heart. I just adore him. But we have some really cool new writers coming. So for July, we decided to read Madness in Wonderland by Tabitha Golden. So Tabitha is the best. I just adore her, and it's so funny. And I don't remember. Hi Tom. How are you? I don't remember if you guys were at our last live stream, but The funny story about this book is, so last month, or no, probably earlier this year, like March, I had this book on my Amazon wish list because I love a good retelling of, or not so much a retelling, but anytime someone takes a fairy tale or they do some kind of spin on a fantasy, like Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland. So yeah, I guess fairy tale. So anytime somebody takes a fairy tale and they kind of redo it or put a different spin on it, I am all for it. Like super all for it. So that's what Tabitha did. So this is Madness in Wonderland, and it's super, super cool. So I'm going to read the back so you guys all know what we're doing. So this is Madness in Wonderland by Tabitha Bolden, and I'm going to tag her in this later. Under the rule of the Red Queen, Wonderland is under constant threat. In fear for her throne, children are taken into the Queen's army, and only the strongest survive. Alice is nothing but a pirate with the help of Hatter. They hatch a plan to sneak into the Red Queen's palace to free Hatter's sister. After all, Alice has always wanted to fly an airship. Dr. Frank N. Stein has created an army of automatons to serve their queen. Of a particular note, a prototype soldier. Part man, part machine, the best of both worlds. Doc's monster is a threat to everything they know, but Alice sees something in the man that begs she look beyond what he's done and search out the heart of the beast for the betterment of the realm. He's their only hope of survival, but how can a monster learn to love when all he's known is hate? I just think that is so cool. I really love that. And I mean, look at the artwork. Y'all know me. I'm an artwork junkie. This is such a great book. And so I think what I'm going to do is I am going to read the first chapter. Good Lord, it is raining hard. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to read the first chapter. And you can always go to the Spine Bookshop so that you can read it and order it because she will be here. Let's see. She is going to be here July 29th from 4 to 6 p.m. So if you want the book to come for the book club, you need to come and get the book, or you can order it at our website, thespinebookshop.com, and order that book. And then, like I said, Tabitha is going to be here from 4 to 6 on July 29th so that the book club can interrogate her like we did with Lloyd. I think Lloyd survived it okay. I think he was fine. So this book is the first in the Beyond Wonderland. Now, I am not sure how many are going to be. I think this is Beyond Wonderland book 1, so I'm not entirely sure how many books she's going to do. So, here we go. Chapter 1. Alice. There should be a law that says no arrests before tea. The ship gave a violent roll, dumping Alice from her bunk before she had a chance to gather her wits. What should have been a short drop seemed to last forever as the Wonder continued her starboard tip. Alice finally landed on the worn boards with a hearty thud sending a jolt of pain through her shoulder. She twitched one eyelid open, bringing Rabbit's white hair and human face into focus as he bounced around her tiny cabin and tapped the pocket watch that never left the gold chain tucked deep in his waistband. Wake up, Alice! Doc says we're nearly there. His oversized front teeth caused a whistle to cut between some of the words. Wind whipped through the open porthole. She'd forgotten to close it last night, and a deep grinding sounded from the engine's gears. The crew's steps thundered against the boards that made up her ceiling as they scrambled to turn Wonder into the wind. Puffs of steam rolled across the sky, the jets of white competing against the clouds for dominance. Hi, BMW! What she wouldn't give to have an airship, much as she loved the Wonder. Adventures across Wonderland would be ever so much quicker floating among the clouds. Rabbit bounced and tapped again, causing the goggles dangling around his neck to crack against his sharp chin. Clean-shaven, he resembled a young boy, filled with vim and vigor. Rabbit was nothing if not meticulous. "Settle down. I'll be up before the teapot whistles." Rubbing her eyes and yawning, Alice reached for her gun belt and managed to strap it around her waist while rolling from the floor and onto her feet. A trio of gears on her corset snagged and pulled in protest until she tugged her bunched muslin shirt from the small of her back, smoothed the ruffles over her chest. It's not as though we're in a rush. We've all the time in Wonderland. Hi, Jojo. Gathering her gold cabin key in her left palm, she clenched a miniature bottle in her right. The letters had worn away from the frosted blue glass long ago, leaving behind a obscene "drink me," and what used to say, "First I took a drink, then the drink took me." Her father's talisman had warmed her palm. Too bad the warming hadn't been enough. The sharp whistle cut the air. "Tea time! I hope Hatter made cake." "It's not your birthday, and Hatter doesn't make cake. Honestly, Alice, you're acting rather unusual this morning." "I'm rather unusual every morning." Curling his nose, Rabbit rocked on the heels of his knee-high boots while tucking his thumbs into the red sash wrapped around his waist. "You should check in with Dr. Stein before tea. He's counting on you to track down the monster." "He's not a monster. Doc says he's our age and he's human. For pity's sake. We'll probably find him hiding in a cave eating berries." She sat long enough to yank her boots on, pulling them over the powder blue trousers before she clapped her hands onto her waist, rubbed her thumbs together over the wood and copper gun grips. "He can't possibly be as bad as all of that." Hi, Cindy. "I don't know, Alice. A man can do a lot of damage in 10 years. Look at all we've done. Doc's man could do even more if he's having the rages from that experiment. Doc says—" Alice swiped a hand through her hair. Doc says. It's all about what Doc says these days. I, for one, will wait until we get this monster on board where we can get straight answers before I pass judgment. We are not knaves. We're pirates in the opposition to the crown, not dim-witted automatons. And why was Doc putting weird chemicals into him in the first place? Imagine being experimented on like some sort of beast. No doubt at Hart's orders. Alice twisted the gold key into the door's lock before she stalked down the corridor, passing locked door after locked door. They might be a tight crew, but no one really believed their favorite boots wouldn't disappear if the chance arose. Her hand tightened around the bottle she'd shoved into her pocket. "It's not right. Don't care if she is the queen." Stuff and nonsense. They could at least tell us why they want him. What good is one man? Her indignation stoked, Alice warmed to the subject. She strapped her goggles over her head and stomped. "I've been known to believe more than 6 impossible things before breakfast, and this one is beyond me." "No one dares go against her." Rabbit snagged Alice's arm, pulling her back before her boot landed on the first step leading up to the deck. "You're angry at her, but there's nothing you can do, even if you have to admit there are things you can't control. Queen Heart rules Wonderland. We must obey." "I'll do no such thing. Once upon a time you believed, as I do. Doc's been filling your head with science and mystery. I'll have none of it." "What have we been doing all these years if not opposing the queen?" Alice yanked her arm free, whirled away. "I'm allowed to have my own opinion. What will Hart do? Cut off my head?" She glanced back. Rabbit blanched whiter than the snow, even whiter than his prematurely white curls sticking up in honor of the rabbit who bequeathed his nickname. "This is a great book." "Don't say that. Don't even joke about it. You remember what happened." Rabbit lowered his head and pressed his lips near her ear. That was a loud thunder. This is not a bad book, Cheese, and if you can't say something nice, you can leave. Don't say that. Don't even joke about that. Remember what happened? Rabbit lowered his head and pressed his lips near her ear. We're not the only ones on board anymore. Doc's not one of us. Anything you say to him, you better be ready to stand trial, for Hart already hates you. There's my friend. I thought I'd lost you. She patted Rabbit's arm. Rabbit's chest Rabbit's puffed chest and quick breaths made the metal gears of the telescope dangling around his neck clink against his goggles. I'm no dormouse falling asleep in cook stew, and I won't blame my contempt for the Queen while uncertain of the crew's true allegiance. Before she could respond, Hatter burst on the steps with his coattails flapping. Alice, where in Queen's country have you been? We've been waiting for ages. Cook's having fits over the new recipe. You better hustle if you want any. He turned on his heel and waved her upward. His purple top hat tilted sideways, nearly getting ripped off in a sudden gust of wind. Alice grinned at the whimsical picture he created in his purple and black ensemble, black leather duster over a purple silk shirt, black vest with matching purple sash around his waist. He looked ready to waltz his way across a ballroom floor instead of fighting tooth and nail on the deck of a pirate ship. Despite his open expression and childlike curiosity, there was a coldness to his eyes that most people missed. They saw his youth and expected inexperience, and it cost them their lives. Alice had seen him battle against the best Hart had to offer. Hatter won, always. What his cutlasses couldn't cut down, his pistols would. None of them enjoyed this battle. This war Queen Hart had waged on the realm had cost countless lives. Alice wanted it over. Rabbit refused to see it, choosing to believe the temporary peace would hold. At the end of every battle, he proclaimed this would be the last one, that they'd never fight another. Yet he never left. The three of them trotted across the deck, their sea legs keeping them steady despite the pitch and roll of the ship. A storm brewed on the horizon, clouds nearly the color of Hatter's shirt building into the mass that promised chaos. They burst into the galley as the wind slammed into the hull and rocked Wonder sideways. Alice's cat Dinah shot across the floor, chasing one of the many mice that would have overrun the ship without the great huntress. Alice snagged a teacup, and as it slid by, grateful for the raised table edges that kept the dishes from flying into the deck in times like this. The jovial mood dimmed as Captain Robert stepped inside and motioned for them to be quiet. We're heading into the river of tires. We need everyone to finish here in the next 5 minutes. Then head to the deck. It's going to take all hands to get through the storm without sinking. Tyres is no ordinary river, and she sunk many a ship on a cloudless sky. Those who could hurried behind the captain as he left. Alice remained with Hatter and Rabbit. Hatter tossed his top hat onto the table and raked both palms over his face before jamming the hat back onto his black curls. Alice sipped her tea, reciting between swallows. How doth the little crocodile improve its shining tail, and pours the water of the Nile on every golden scale. How cheerfully it seems to grin, how neatly spread its claws, and welcomes little fishes with gently smiling jaws. I love that part. Alice, please. Rabbit hopped from foot to foot, his curls bouncing while he tapped his pocket watch. Finish your tea so we can go. Time's almost up. Go on without me, Alice nodded her head at the two men who thought she needed protection even while on the ship. I need to see Cook. He's already on deck. Hatter reached for the door, tugging his hat brim at the same time. Rabbit's right, we should go. Captain'll need our help. Once we hit tires, the snow will make it nearly impossible to see your hand in front of your face. We'll need to keep a lookout. Since when do you know so much? With her teacup back on the table, Alice found herself sandwiched between Rabbit and Hatter. Above her head, gears whirred and clicked as the ship's clock chugged through the minutes. Steam trickled out in tiny bursts, like the steam-powered locomotive she'd ridden as a child. Since I grew up, Hatter shrugged. His aristocratic nose and full lips offered a haughty expression that fell flat when he released a drawn-out sigh. Have you forgotten already? Tyres was my home before Hart took it from me. Despite the tone that said losing his home had been no big deal, Hatter's knuckles cracked beneath the pressure of his fists. He rolled his shoulders, gave a cocky grin, before twisting the dials on his goggles and pulling them over his eyes. Built for Hatter, the goggles allowed him to see, no matter the amount or lack of light. Better batten down the hatches. Tyres doesn't appreciate strangers. Panic flashed through Robert's eyes as he scrambled out the door. Hatter's rabid breath alternated with the screech of teacups sliding across the scarred table. White, hot fury rose across the empty pit in Alec's stomach, fueled by a vengeance and a healthy dose of despair. What are we doing here? Why are we working for Queen Heart? We swore we'd never help her. Now, here we are, chasing after her monster with her right-hand man on board and the only home we have left. Hatter reached for her arm before she could whirl away. For one brief flash, the real Hatter shone from the depths of his violet eyes. Violet eyes. We're doing this not for her, but so we can learn what she's up to. What's really going on in the realm. Instead of accepting what she says, we're finding out for ourselves. Hatter jerked her against his chest in a rare show of affection and patted her back. Now buck up. We've got work to do. He pushed her away before she could truly grasp what happened. The press of her coat against his cheek had ignited a new fire. So, are we back? There we go. Alice trailed one finger down her cheek as Hatter dashed out. She followed the heavy steps and confused heart. Between one step and the next, the chaos in her blood bled out onto the deck. Pandemonium filled every space. Hatter flashed by with a rope trailing over his shoulder. Rabbit scurried up the rigging and into the crow's nest. The Tweedle twins locked arms and cowered behind barrels stuck in the corner. Typical Tweedles. At someone's heavy gasp, Alice tore her gaze away from the panic and toward the bow where a solid wall of white greeted them. Hi, Jim Bean Boy. What would you like to join? If not for the subtle movement within the depths, she would swear the fog was impenetrable. Captain Robert shouted from the captain's wheel, but a gust of wind snatched the words away. Snow billowed from the clouds, washing over the deck in sheets. Tiny pellets stung her cheek, wrapping her hands over her head. Alice raced for the rail as the boat disappeared into the river of Tyrus. Boards groaned as though in agony against an unseen enemy. Howls emanated from the snow, and the sound of a woman crying sent shivers down Allison's back. With a great groan and creaking, Wonder slammed into something stronger and more solid than she. My nose is itchy. Alice shot overboard, launched over the rails as though from a cannon. She landed in the water with a splash, and the frigid sting sucked every silver of air from her lungs. Beneath the waves, a great howling and mourning disappeared, replaced by absolute silence. Was her heart even beating? This is it, then. This is the end of the journey for Alice of Wonder. She closed her eyes, absorbing what death might bring as her heavy pistols and boots pulled her deeper, unfathomable anger forced her eyes open and her arms into motion. I will not lose. Not now. Not after we've all not after we've suffered. If you want me dead, you'll have to drag me down with your own hands. Speaking of hands, Alice squinted into the gloomy water. Something glimmered. In a world that should have been dark as Cerberus's den, a weak light beckoned. Alice swam for it. with the tireless water trying to suck her down and her lungs begging to return to the surface, even if she froze to death. That small hand-shaped glow became her salvation. The hand reached for her, fingers extended wide enough to cover her entire face. Alice blinked away the vision of monstrous claws. The perfectly human-shaped hand grasped her shoulder, hauled her out of the darkness and into blinding white light. The pelting snow disappeared, leaving behind a warm glow over the white landscape. "Breathe!" a harsh voice commanded, leaving her no choice but to haul in a piercing shot of air that scalded icy cold from the tip of her tongue to the top of her lungs. Something heavy settled over her chest and sent a waft of cinnamon into her nose. Her limbs trembled, hands grasping handfuls of snow as her back prickled against the cold. Whoever saved her and commanded her to breathe remained nearby. Muffled steps near her head, followed by the creaking of branches and the sudden smell of pine, revealed his location. Her eyes shuddered open and closed in rapid succession, giving her blips of images. Snow-laden trees, a warm sun bathing the world in yellow light, the flash of a fur-covered boot, big enough to cave in her chest. Monstrous! Her heart lurched, forcing her eyes wide open. Gray fur tickled her chin. A heavy green material weighed on her chest. Alice turned her head into the fur, letting it brush her cheek. Water burbled over rocks, a far cry from the keening of the ship. Footsteps approached. Heavy, crunching footfalls that sent Alice's heart racing and her breath panting. Black spots appeared as the monster stepped into view. Doc's monster, the very one they were sent to capture, had pulled her from the water and given her his coat. She knew with absolute certainty, but to satisfy her curiosity, she plundered a look. Fur boots wrapped in strips of leather ran halfway up his calves. Black trousers. Alice's gaze traveled up in of teacups. The man reached 7 feet in height. Large hands grasped armfuls of pine branches, with puffs of air obscuring her vision as she fell into full-blown hyperventilating. She caught only a glimpse of pale skin, white blonde hair, and ice-blue eyes. Human, as she had told Rabbit. Still, she had doubts after all the stories told of Frankenstein's monster. His voice rumbled as deep as the mountain avalanche. "You're breathing too fast. You'll pass out if you don't control yourself." And when he turned away and dropped to one knee, her eyes landed on the deep scar puckering against the skin of his neck. The Queen's mark. Given to those under her control as a reminder of her power. Rumor said she made the mark using an iron spike. "Who are you?" "I'm taking you back to your friends. Easier to take you there than bring them here." Looking at her over his shoulder, he tilted his head as if curious. "The question is, who are you?" I'm really excited about this book. I have a bookmark, so here we go. Anyway, so that's the first chapter. So you definitely need to read this book. And like I said, she's going to be at the shop on July 29th from 4 to 6 p.m. I'm really, really excited that we finally get to read this. And I'm really, really excited that okay. Let's see what we can do. Black? That's gross. We don't need that. That's disgusting. Delete that comment. That's gross. Okay. So anyway, definitely order your book now, and we definitely want to get as many people to buy copies of Tabitha's books as possible because she's a local author. And if you know the Spine at all, we definitely promote local authors. It's a big thing here at the Spine, and we definitely want to support local authors. So get your book. All right, now, the other local authors that we got this week that I was really excited about is we have a new author named Clarence Plank. And Clarence he wrote some children's books, and then he also wrote a poetry book. And let me tell you, I follow him on Facebook, and Instagram, and he's amazing, and I really love his poetry. So, this is his book, his poetry book, Words from for a Muse, and he's been writing poetry and short stories for over about 20 years now, and he said he's been collecting his poems in a shoebox for years before he decided to publish them. And his poems cover love, loss, rebirth, and hope. And so this is his fifth book, and he has some here in the Spine Bookshop, which is super cool. I was really excited to add him to our bookshelf of local authors. He's super cool. And so he wrote Words for a Muse, and this is Comprehending Love. And then he also wrote two children's books, which are super cute. Life of Penguins and The Dance of the Blueberry Ball, which, I mean, these are adorable. How can you not love these books? They're so cute. And kids are going to love you. And the illustrations are super cute. Like, look at that. I love them so much. And I read both of these books yesterday, and they're adorable. And I super love the illustrations. But that is our brand new author, Clarence Plank. And hopefully we will be doing some kind of event with him soon. We're definitely hoping to do that. And then, so y'all know how much I love Lloyd. Lloyd's my dude. Really don't like that. Let's see what else we can do. Okay. So anyway, so the next author that we have that's local is Dan Adams. Dan is also my guy. I love Dan. I'm really excited about Dan. And I would like to say congratulations to Dan as well, because Dan just retired from the military yesterday. So we're very proud of Dan, and thank you so much for your service. But I am very happy to know you. I'm very proud of you. And we are super excited that this is our August book club choice. We went ahead and picked two of them. So, like I said, this one is July's and this one is August. So, this one is super cool. I'm really excited about it. It's sci-fi, space, story, which I'm super pumped about. And Dan is super awesome. And he's already got the sequel out. And he's going to be bringing me the sequel here pretty soon. So, if you want to come and you want to participate in our August book club with Dan, he will be here August 26th from 4 to 6. And so you can order your book from the Spine. And so he will be here to talk about his book in August as well. I really love that our fiction book club has kind of become a local author fiction book club. Like, that's super cool. And I'm very excited about that because it means I get to show you guys these really cool authors. So anyway, July and August book clubs, books, choices, local authors. I know them both, and they're both super awesome. And then, like I said, we've got a new author. Super excited. I'm very excited to have these authors in our store. And I hope that you go to our website so that you can order all kinds of really super awesome books. And I want to thank you for joining my live today. It was super awesome. And go to our website, thespinebookshop.com, and we